What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Sheehan Show here on Sherdog.com. My name is Sean Sheehan, and I am back with another edition of the betting show as we look ahead to a big weekend in the world of mixed martial arts. I have bets from ONE Championship and UFC 298 for you today. We'll also take a quick look at KSW, although I previewed that card in full and gave you all my bets for that already. But we will have we'll have a quick look at it regardless. And I'll tell you what. Before I look at last week's bets and before I give you my bets for this week, I actually don't think UFC 298 is the best card in the world for betting. Now, I probably spent longer looking at bets for this card than I have for any. Usually, you know, I get a feeling they kind of fall into my hands. You know, Bob's your uncle type of thing, or need to watch a bit of tape and stuff. For this one, it's just, look, we all know all the fighters there. There's much tape needs to be watching that we haven't done already for previews and stuff like that. I'll tell you what, it took a bit of how would you want to say, a bit of patchwork to find some bets here. I went for a few unders. I went for a few double stake type of bets here, but we will get to all of them in a second. I think I have found some winners. You can decide. Let me know as well before we do anything here. Let me know your one bet. Before you listen to my bets, let me know your one bet for UFC 298. In the comment section below. Are you betting on Ian Garry? Are you betting on Topuria for the big one? Are you betting him? Who are you betting on in the Oban Elliott Val Woodburn fight? Oban making his debut in the UFC. Let me know your bet. Let me know your one big bet, whether it's a knockout, submission, decision, whatever it is, in the comment section below. And while you're there, please give it a thumbs up, maybe a like. And if you have any other comments, let me know as well. I'm here to improve and I steal other people's bets as well. If I see a good bet, I'll be like, oh, give me a bet for next week or something. No, but indeed, we will do that, and I will be in the comment section, and we'll have a bit of a chat there. Last week was a rebound week. The week before we got absolutely zero bets correct, but this last week we got two. We got 2 out of 4. We'll take it. We got back on the board, and I was happy enough with it. Danny get minus 170. I was kind of saying last week, Danny get minus 170 might be a little bit low. You know, we might want a little bit of a better price on Danny get in that one. But it turns out, it might have been a bit high. Maybe plus 270, maybe plus 370. Sorry, minus 270 or minus 370 would have been a more accurate price. So, you know, Daniga went in there, got the job done very, very early and easily. So, great bet there, minus 170. Hope you're all on that. And Rodriguez. They were calling him Rodriguez on the broadcast, but he's Brazilian, so I don't know. Anyway, he won. That's all that matters. Plus 150, one inside the distance, and we'll take that to the bank. Very good finish by him. I honestly thought that bet was down the toilet in the mid portion, or even the early to mid portion of that fight, because Tavares was fighting a fight that didn't look like he was going to get finished, but Rodriguez turned up the action and won. I think 2 out of the next 3 bets, I'm taking no fault of them. I'm blaming the fighters. Just fight better, lads. Just win, and then like all our bets. Petrosian, like, what are you doing? Like, getting into a striking match? Oh my god. Oh yeah. This 74-time world jiu-jitsu champion is striking with me. Oh great. I'll relax. Oh, taken down. Submit it. You know. That's not my fault. That's not on me. That's on him. So Armin Petrosian gave everyone the money back. The one I will take heed of and will take the blame for is Joe Pyfer minus 175. Again, not the biggest price in the world, but I was like, oh, I think he'll definitely win. I think that'll be a good price in hindsight. No, it indeed wasn't. Hermanson, you know, he wasn't ready to be overtaken, and it was a great performance by him. I actually don't think Pyfer necessarily fought terribly. I think there are clear things that he can do to improve going forward. So I think Pyfer is a live betting prospect in future. So let's keep an eye on Joe Pyfer, but not for last week. And then I had Flowers to win. It was a flyer. Okay, so if you lose the flyer, not giving out too bad. But God almighty, Flowers to win in TKO on round 1 plus 430 was the bet. No, that did not happen. And I look, he said he had a really bad weight cut afterwards, which is understandable. A large part of my picking him was that he was going to be a much bigger guy. So look, that's the that's maybe a thing we bring forward with us, and maybe something we have to mention more on this show. That's a big issue. That can be a big issue, making the weight and making it healthily. Like, look at Kayla Harrison coming up. Maybe that's an issue there in that fight we talk about at the time, but we will talk about it at the time. Look, he didn't throw the hands. He didn't wrestle. He didn't do anything that I watched in the tape that made him look good. And Michael Johnson actually fought really well as well. So there was a combination of that. But yeah, I think Flowers, honestly, I think Flowers had the beating of him, but he just didn't do it. He didn't pull the trigger. And that was that. So 2 out of 4, and then the Flier didn't hit as well. We'll take it, rebound, and hopefully we do better this week. Okay. Before we get into my 5 bets, there's another bet we've already placed for this card in our bets of the year. So our bets of the year, just quickly to recap, from bottom to top: Michael Chandler over Conor McGregor. Will the fight ever happen? Dustin Poirier, Michael Venom Page, Amir Albazi. Actually, that fight didn't happen. It's already been cancelled, hasn't it? So there's one out the door. But we'll update that at the end of the year. And the other is Ilia Topuria to win at plus 130. So I gave you plus bets for the year. There was plus 130, plus 190, plus 125, plus 124, and plus 100. I'll tell you what, I'm looking at Topuria's price right now. Across the board, he is, if I can find it here, he's plus 105, plus 105, plus 110, plus 105, plus 100, plus 100, plus 105, plus 110. If you cash out now, you'll have made money. You know, you cash out that bet now. You might, if you put 20 quid on it, you might get 22 quid back or something like that. Or maybe not that much, but you know what I mean. But I've given him to you at a better and bigger price than he is right now. So I've left that bet off the board for this week's 5 picks. I already have the bet in there. We'll know whether it's a winner or a loser on Saturday night. So we already have that there. The other thing I would update, the predictions for the championship. I have Ilia Topuria to be the champion at the end of the year, plus 240 as well. So that's another plus 240 bet that I'm sure won't be plus 240 by the time Sunday morning hits if Ilia Topuria wins. It probably won't be plus 240 if he loses either, because it'll probably be plus 600 or something like that. So there you go. Updates on those ones. Okay, let's get to the 5 bets for the week. The first bet I'm going for, and here we go again. Here's a little bit of a bit of scampering with him, bit of messing with him. And this is what we got at the end of the day. Ian Garry in round 3 or by decision at plus 116. So, look, we all know Ian Garry, what he's been doing over the last few years has been absolutely fantastic inside of the cage. You can look whatever you want to talk about outside of the cage. Do itself. This is a betting show. We talk about what happens inside the cage. And him against Jeff Neal is a very interesting matchup in a lot of ways. And look, I suppose there's 3 big factors coming into this. First of all, he was supposed to fight Jeff Neal before. How does that hurt it? Second of all is all the outside of the cage stuff, which, you know, that's, as I said, that's for another show. But also, sometimes the outside of the cage stuff can harm you, right? Has it? If it has, okay, negative. If it hasn't, makes no difference, right? So there's a question. And the third question is, it's a weird thing. It's the word short notice is incorrect, right? But Ian Garry is taking this fight after having pneumonia, after having another fight. Okay, we'll say it was a couple of months ago, but how long does it take you to recover from pneumonia completely? He was supposed to fight, if only for maybe a week or so, on UFC 299, not 298. Does that make a difference? How much of a difference does that make? Now, I would say parts of what I just said there would make a difference. Parts of it only minimal, but I think it all kind of adds up to it. Is there anything? And I did this recently with Topuria on another podcast, like or Volkanovski on another podcast, and I put it like the negatives, I suppose, with Volkanovski coming into this weekend. Do I think they could have like a detrimental effect on who he fights with Volkanovski? And I think they could. Do I think they will? Maybe. I'm not sure. Right? I'm not sure. For Ian Garry, I'm also not sure, but I think they won't. That's the difference. I'm picking Topuria. I continue to pick Topuria just to upgrade, to update that, right? Based on maybe, I think so. I'm picking Ian Garry on maybe, I think not. I think he'll be fine. I think he'll go in there. I think he'll fight well, and I think he'll win, right? Now, the bet itself, round 3 or decision. The reason I think that is how Ian Garry fought against Neil Magny, right? He gave Neil Magny the utmost respect, as he should. Fought well and dominated for the first couple of rounds, and then upped at the pace towards the end of the 3rd round when he knew maybe the wrestling issues were gone. And when I say wrestling issues, I mean the possibility of Neil Magny wrestling him. When that was kind of gone, Ian Garry kind of took over, almost finished him in the 3rd, and then won by decision. Now, if he did the exact same fight 2 fights in a row, that might be a little bit surprising. But having said that, for Jeff Neal, that's the exact type of fight I would expect Ian Garry to fight, right? How do you lose to Jeff Neal? Well, you lose to Jeff Neal if you took a big punch in the face. If we're sitting here Sunday morning, we're talking about Ian Garry losing, we're talking about Jeff Neal winning, it's probably via knockout. Let's be honest. Maybe there's a scenario where he lands 3 or 4 big shots throughout the fight and robs rounds a little bit like Chito Vera does. Maybe there's he suddenly turns into a big wrestler. I don't think that part is going to happen, but I think it is via knockout. I think Ian Garry probably, I was listening to an old interview, I think he actually posted himself, and he was like, the only way Jeff Neal wins is if he knocks me spark out. I think that's true. I think that is true, right? So if you're Ian Garry, how do you fight around that? I think you fight around that by playing a safer game. I think you let Jeff Neal throw his big shots, you get out the way of him, you fight from distance. Like Ian Garry's a very tall, big guy. You use your lint, you use your teeps from the outside, you kick to the body, you kick to the legs, you jab him, 1, 2, very defensively sound for 2 rounds. And then when that power goes, when he gets a little bit more tired, you know you're the younger guy. You know he's going to be, breathing that extra bit harder. I think, and look, here's the question. How does the pneumonia still in your lungs only from 6 to 8 weeks ago, whatever it was, how does that affect you then? Okay, that's another question. But let's say it doesn't. I think Ian Garry can up the pace in the 3rd. I think he'll realize it. I think he'll want to make a statement on a massive card like this and go hard in that 3rd round to win it. Now, I think he'll already have won the first 2 rounds, and if he doesn't get the finish, well, let's remind ourselves of the bet, Ian Garry to win in round 3 or by decision at plus 116. And I love that bet. I think that is ideal because the straight up money line bet on Ian Garry, not, minus 230. Honestly, I was going to give you that straight up. I think that's really good. I think that is a really good price, and I think Whittaker at minus 250 straight up is also a very good price. But I've told you before, I told you at the start of the year, and if you're a new listener to the betting show, I'm not giving big minus prices this year. I'm just not doing it. I'd rather give a losing bet, right? You can make your own decision of, if my record isn't great, I don't mind. I am giving better money bets this year, and that's what we are doing. We'll give a few minus. I have a minus money bet here in a minute. We'll give a few minus money bets if they make sense, if I think they're very good prices. But I'm going to look for the plus money bets, and that's the way this show will be. We are not record hunters. We're money hunters, right? But we're fun hunters more than anything else. Bet responsibly, please. Okay, we're 30 minutes into the show, and we've only 1 bet done. Not great. Let's go to bet number 2. Actually, I'm gonna change it up here quickly from the order I had it in. I'm gonna go to ONE Championship next for my bet. And I told you if you listen to the ONE Championship preview of my fight between Valmir Silva and Hiro Tatsuya, I told you these guys were very similar. I told you I'm not sure who's going to win, and I told you I look at the betting odds. And I looked at the betting odds, and Valmir is plus 313 to win this. Valmir Silva plus 313, and that is my bet, my second bet for this week. Again, I'll tell you about these two lads if you didn't watch the preview. If you did, please, if you haven't, please do. Tetsuya they call him the Japanese juggernaut. He's a wrestler. He's very powerful, throws big left hooks, big leg kicks, ground and pound. Not the best striker in the world, not the best striker. As I said, that big left hook is good, dangerous. It's not exactly, Floyd Mayweather technique going behind it or anything like that. You're not going to see him going out there putting a 1, 2, 3, 4 jab, hook, straight, jab combination together or whatever it might be. You're not going to see that out of him. He's more of a bludgeoning fighter. The Silva, on the other hand, you will. You know, not. Look, he's not Floyd Mayweather either, but he's a lot closer than his opponent is. They're both. I'll tell you here. They're both very, as we say in Ireland here, stocky men, well built, low to the ground, similar sort of shape. You know, strong, athletic looking. I think the big difference. Look, I don't think the Silva is as good a wrestler, although I think he is a good wrestler. And that might be the key, and that's probably the reason he's plus 313. But I look at it and that and see, I watched a bit of his fights. His fights end up in the clinch an awful lot, but he's actually very good in the clinch. And if he can get the fight there, and look, it's very difficult as well in a ring. I think I'm watching a lot of fights in the ring recently. I think if you can get to the corner, if you can get like overhook that ring, the top ring strap or something like that, survive in there. I think if he can do that, I think he'll win this fight. I really do. And it's plus 313. It's not necessarily a flyer, but it's not miles away from a flyer either. I think if he can keep the fight on the feet, he's just a way more technical striker. As I said, he will throw that jab. He will throw the 1-2 down the middle. He's powerful. He's just a good fighter. A good fighter. Look, we know the sauce here. If Tetsuya wins, he's going to win. Probably by decision. Maybe ground round. His ground round is massive, but he's going to win via wrestling. I think Valmir the Silva Barbosa needs to maybe offensively wrestle as well. It might be a good job. Get Tetsuya on his back. But I think he needs to use everything in his disposal to keep the fight on the feet and win it there. So, bet number 2 of the week from ONE Championship, Valmir the Silva Barbosa plus 313. Just while I'm here, there's only 3 MMA fights on ONE Championship this week. Again, here's another bet. You know, I said we're not giving the big money minus money bets. Deota Adiwang, or Alito Adiwang even, against Daniel Williams, minus 238. I love that. Here's a bet I'd put on maybe. A treble, right? Let's go treble of that, along with, and I'll see. Hold on now here a second. I'll see if I can get you the price on this. So I'm gonna go with Adiwang to win straight up his fight there at plus 238. I'm going for Robert Whittaker at minus 238. Robert Whittaker at minus 250. And what was the other one I said I would give you? It is Ian Garry at minus 230, right? So if you put a parlay, a treble of those 3, it's plus 138. Sorry, 138. Why can I not read? Plus 186. Plus 186 for a parlay of those 3. I like that bet. That's your Sean Sheehan extra bet parlay of the week here for the Sherdog.com betting show. I digress. So I do think Adiwang will win at minus 238. The other bet the other fight there is Mansour Malkiewicz against Sauta. Massive favorite there is the Russian. He's over minus 1,000. And I do think he will win pretty handily. So that's the betting odds from ONE Championship there for this week. As I said, not many MMA fights on it, and those are the MMA bets that are up so far. So feel free to check out ONE Championship and my preview this week and KSW. While we're here, just let's have a quick look at the KSW bets while we're here. The 2 that stick out to me, Brick that minus 150. I do like that over Mercier in the main event. Felipe against Jurasek. Look, Felipe plus 100. I thought he would be more than plus 100. I'm taking the Irish bias aside. Probably bet Jurasek at that price. I know. I think on the preview show, I thought his price was a little bit higher. Maybe I kind of backing out of that one a little bit, but maybe I'll go with Jurasek on that one. I like Tobias Lee as well, minus 175, and his fight with Joniak, and those are kind of the ones I'll be looking at there. Right, let's move on to the next bet of the week, and I am going for my guy Oban Elliott to win his fight. Sorry, I'm actually not going for him to win his fight. No, well, I am going for him to win his fight, but not at the price they give me. This to me is a real bad straight up price to give Oban. I'll give you my bet first. I'm all over the place. Elliott versus Woodburn over 1.5 rounds plus 123. Over 1.5 rounds plus 123. And I'll give you the reason behind that in a second. the betting odds in this fight, Oban is, I see him in one place here, is minus 335. This is nothing got to do with Oban here, right? I just think Val Woodburn is being massively underestimated here. Do I think Oban should be favourite? Yes. I think Oban should probably be around maybe minus 175, maybe minus 200. The lowest I see him anywhere here is minus 286. I think that price is way, way, way overboard. I think plus 250 for Woodburn is a good price, and I wouldn't put you past betting on that. But I still do think Oban Elliott will win, right? And the reason for the bet I've given you, which is the fight to go over minus 123, sorry, plus 123. Look, the big negative on that, I suppose, is Woodburn hits really hard. So look, if Woodburn does win, I would say a high likelihood of him winning will be early, right? So that's the one negative in this bet. The positive in this bet, I think, Oban Elliott will know that the way Woodburn will want to win is by a bludgeoning knockout. Let's be honest. We all know that. He knows that. And he will fight that way, right? Oban Elliott. He will fight to avoid that. Oban Elliott is one of the smartest guys around. I've watched a lot of his fights. Okay, this is his UFC debut. But he fought James Sheehan, no relation, in Cage Warriors. And he fought in Ireland, in his backyard, in Dublin. James Sheehan was the highest rated Dublin on the card at the time. So a tough matchup in front of 4,000 or 5,000 people, maybe even a little bit more. And he fought this coordinated, intelligent game plan for the whole 3 rounds. And I think that's exactly what he needs to do here as well. Be safe, stay away from Woodburn, wrestle when he needs to wrestle, get on top when he needs to get on top. Don't get drawn into a striker matchup. And I think that fact alone, I think will prolong this fight. Also, if you know Oban Elliott and you saw his last fight, this guy has heart for days, a chin for weeks, and will keep going at you. I think the only thing drawing me back here from picking Oban straight up or picking him to get the finish or anything like that is I just still think it's Oban's probably, look, he's probably 5 fights away from being the best fighter he can be, or maybe 2 years away from being the best fighter he can be. I think he's probably 1 or 2 fights away from being like a dead on, he's going to beat all these prospects coming up type of fighter. I think in 2 to 3 fights he will be that. I really do. I think he's a very, very good fighter. Still putting it all together, still putting the wrestling, the jiu-jitsu, the striking together. He can do them all, but when he puts them all together, when he gets confident in putting them all together, and when he gets experience at it as well, I think he's going to be a real threat here. I think he's a very, very, very good fighter, and I could see him climb. I don't think he's going to climb the ranks, say like an Ian Garry or someone like that, but I think he will have a good UFC career, and once those improvements come, we'll be able to maybe revisit that and see how good of a UFC career he might have. So, but on the other side of it then, here's the thing on Woodburn, right? I think I've watched every Woodburn fight he's ever had, to be honest. He fought in this promotion that has tiny little cages. And he never got to fight a proper fight in a proper size cage. Oban Elliott was fighting in Cage Warriors, right? They have an octagon, literally. He was fighting in a UFC-sized cage the whole time. And that's an advantage, definitely, to Woodburn. But to Elliott. But for Woodburn, the practice at fighting in that cage, of like, okay, here are my tactics for this fight. Like, his tactics for those fights is basically like, I need to get an underhook here, I need to push him out and throw a right hand. Like, that's the totality of what your tactics can be in those small cages. So and he had 30 seconds against Bo Nickel. Let's just write that off. What are his tactics going to be for this fight? Is he going to be a big knockout artist, or is he going to do something a little bit different? I think that's a possible drawback as well for Oban Elliott. But I've gone for the over here. Whoever wins it, or if it goes to decision, whatever it might be. But plus 123, the over, 1.5 rounds. Okay, bet number 4 here is a pretty simple one. I've gone for Merab Dvalishvili to win by decision at minus 125. Here's the only minus bet of the week, and it's not a big one. I'm betting on this because I don't think Henry Cejudo is what he used to be. The last performance wasn't great. I think he'd be a little bit better this time, but I feel like Henry Cejudo, the best Henry Cejudo, is a terrible matchup for Dvalishvili. And I still think he will make bits and pieces of it hard. I'm not convinced Dvalishvili is the best. Well, he might be the best bantamweight in the world, but he's not the best fighter in the world. Like, there are gaping holes in his game, but he's so good at what he does. It's very tough for you to compete with that. Now, someone like Henry Cejudo at his very best could, I think, absolutely could, because the technical, high-level fighter is how you beat the all-out madness of Merab Dvalishvili. That's how you beat it. There's no doubt about that. But I don't think he will beat it here. I think it's the type of one where Merab is, look, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. Catch him, put him up against the cage, pull him down, stand up, catch him, put him against the cage, pull up, stand down, throw shots, throw a few elbows, don't stay on top for any time, tire him out and win like that. That's how Merab Dvalishvili does it. And I think, simply put, that's how I think he'll do it again. I don't think he's going to finish Henry. And I think that's the best price you'll get on that fight as well. The straight up prices on that are plus 180 for Henry, minus 220 for Dvalishvili. Honestly, I don't think it's the best price in the world. If that plus 180 in Henry Cejudo, I've stared at it now like 3 times, right? Because you give me this 3 years ago, like Henry Cejudo 3 years ago, and Dvalishvili now. If we could get a time machine and possibly do that, I'd bite your hand off for plus 180. Because I really do think he is the type of fighter that'll beat what Dvalishvili does. So, yeah, there's that. There's the bet. Minus 125, Dvalishvili by decision. Okay, those are the 4 bets. Here is your flyer for the week. Now, I kind of had to make the price for this flyer itself. It's this exact odds aren't out yet. They will be out by the time the fight comes. So I'm going for Robert Whittaker to win in round 2 or 3, and I'll give you approximately plus 500. Okay, approximately plus 500. Him to win in rounds 1 and 2 is up, and that is, I think, plus 335, I think it was. And then the odds of him to win in 1 is less than him to win in 2, is less than him to win in 3. So you think the odds of 2 and 3 will actually be much less than 1 and 2. So that's where my logic is coming from. They just haven't updated that bet yet. I'm sure that round betting will be out by the time the fight comes. Okay, here's why I think this will this will be the pick. I think, okay, here's the 2 things. I never thought Paulo Costa was that good, right, to be honest. And I think Robert Whittaker is not what he used to be either. I think that performance against Duplessis was dreadful. I think it was a really bad performance. Now, is that the sort of performance? Like, was he sick? You know, did he have a hamstring injury coming in? Did he have the flu coming in? Was there an answer for it? We'll find out on Saturday night, I think, because like it was such a bad performance. I think something went drastically wrong. Like, if that is a case of it'll go that wrong every time, Costa, I think as bad as Costa is, in my opinion, I think he could win, but I just don't think so. I think it'd take an all merciful amount of a downfall from Robert Whittaker to lose this fight. And I just can't imagine he's fallen down that much, or he can't bounce back a little bit, or something wasn't wrong the last time. And with that said, I think Costa will really come out here and try to get to Robert Whittaker in a similar way that Duplessis did, right? I think he looked at that fight and tried to do it. I don't think he has what Duplessis has. Like, Duplessis is an oddly good fighter that people don't kind of realize, but good at what he does. Good at what he does, right? I don't think Costa is good at the same sort of thing. I think he'll make it awkward and tiresome for the first 2 rounds, but that'll play against him in the end of round 2 and into round 3. I really think it will. I think Whittaker will have the better cardio. I think he'll outlast him. I think he'll probably take him down at some stage as well and blast him with a load of shots. And I do think he'll get him out of there. I just have a feeling that Costa is going to meet a guy who is not willing, like Hermanson kind of the last time, not willing to be bypassed. But also, the other part of it here is, okay, Pyfer Hermanson, you the fresh guy in Pyfer. Costa's, he hasn't fought in like 3 years. You know, that can't be a good thing. I don't know. It's weird because, like, the last time Whittaker fought, you probably could have given me plus 500 on him straight up and I wouldn't have backed him at that stage, no matter what his next matchup was. But the more I think about it, the more I kind of calm down about it maybe, and the more I look at Costa, I think it's a Whittaker fight. I really do. So that's the final bet of the week. Whittaker to win in rounds 2 or 3 plus 500. Right, let's have a brief look at and see what else is on that card. Nothing massively stand out. The only other bet of plus money that I like is Andrea Lee over Miranda Maverick. Andrea Lee, she blows hot and cold. And if she fights well, I think that plus 150 looks a great price there. But I avoid her unless, like, Miranda Maverick mightn't be a name enough for her to fight well. You know, sometimes that's the case with fighters as well. But we'll see on that one. The straight up betting for Volkanovski Topuria, obviously we have the bet on that over the year. Plus 100, up to plus 110 for Topuria. Volkanovski around the minus 120, minus 130 range. If you like Volkanovski, get the finish. It's plus 270. If you, the over unders in this. Fight ends in round one. Actually, if you're looking at some of the big prices, look at some of the big prices I was looking at. I fancy Topuria to win early enough, to be honest. Over plus 1,000, over plus 1,200 to in and round 2, plus 1,000 in and round 1. I think some of those bets are interesting enough to me to kind of to have a second look at them. Maybe we'll see how they get on. Costa Whittaker, as I mentioned, plus 200 for Costa, minus 250 for Whittaker. The over under betting. Minus 250 for the under 1.5 rounds. If you fancy me to be wrong, you could get that. If you fancy the under is plus 175. If you fancy me to be wrong, a round and a half. The under 2.5 rounds is plus 105. You know, I suppose we'll see on that one. If you fancy Whittaker to get the finish, TKO KO plus 310. I like that as well. I could see the submission though, plus 1,200. I like that. Plus 1,200, an awful lot. But if you fancy Costa to get the knockout, plus 400 in that one. Cejudo Dvalishvili, as I mentioned, straight up betting, minus 220 for Merab, the favorite, plus 180 for Cejudo. Dvalishvili to get the knockout is as far as plus 700 here in one or two places, plus 550. Cejudo to get the finish around plus 600, 650-ish there. Cejudo to win by decision, if you like that. If you do fancy Cejudo, I think that's probably the most likely outcome. If he does win, plus 350, and Dvalishvili by decision is minus money, minus 135-ish there on that one. Hernandez Kopylov is probably the only other big fight that I haven't spoken about, although Lemas Dern as well. First of all, I like Hernandez in that one, minus 250. I don't like that price. I'll be staying away from that fight. Dern and Lemas, I do like Lemas at minus 135, but again, you never know what Dern is going to show up. Rinya Nakamura is the biggest favorite in this card, minus 1,300 nearly, and I do think he will win that one. So that's it. Those are the bets for the weekend. We spoke about One Championship already. We spoke about KSW, and those are the big UFC bets. So to recap, the 5 bets for the week in the world of mixed martial arts. Bet number 1, Ian Garry to win in round 3 or by decision at plus 116. At plus 313, I'm going for Valmir de Silva over in ONE Championship. I'm going for Elliott versus Woodburn to be over a round and a half at plus 123. At minus 125, I'm going for Merab Dvalishvili to win by decision, and Robert Whittaker in the 5th bet of the week to win in round 2 or round 3 at around plus 500 in the UFC 298 main card fight. And also we have, just to recap again, our yearly bet, one of our top 5 bets for the year, Ilia Topuria, still going at plus 130 to beat the champ Volkanovski. All right, everybody, I will leave it there. As I said, leave your bet for the week in the comment section below. But until we come back next week, my name is Sheehan for Sherdog.com. Bet responsibly, and I'll see you all next time.